I've told you this story before. I got to tell you, listeners, this is like the day I was marrying my wife. I was freaking out. I was a total commitment phobe. It was so weird because I knew I loved her, but then it's just like the finality like of that. It was like claustrophobic because I grew up like a really oppressive, controlled environment. So like I just, that was the thing that I hated about a relationship is it was like subconsciously reminding me of that. So I'm getting ready to go over to get married.
Right.
So I go downstairs. I think I was at Copley Plaza in Boston. And I went downstairs and I said to my brother, my older brother was my best man. I go, I got to get a drink, right? So I go down to the bar to get a drink and I'm standing there and I take one sip of it and I look over and who's standing there? You. You were there, standing over there. And all I thought was a Bronx Tale. Now you can't leave. Wow. I'm getting uncomfortable even bringing my brain back.
Do you ever see some of your old television things or bits and go, that wasn't that funny? Or,
if I watched them, I would. I will tell you, one night I had this airplane bit, and it was just something that I was doing, and it was on the road, and I was just thinking, like, I can't put this on a special. It's like, I just can't do it, right? So I'm doing this benefit in this giant place, and it was right after Trump got elected.
Right.
So the first comic that went on was very upset that Trump won. And she went at the crowd like everybody there was the reason why Trump got in. So they got upset, and then they started booing. They started booing her.
Wow.
And then the next guy who went up was totally for Trump and was totally conservative, and he went the other way. And then the people that didn't like Trump, wanted Hillary, started booing him.
Oh,
and the whole fucking thing was going off the rails.
Right.
And
you're next.
And I'm next. And I'm like, what am I going to do? I'm like, what brings people together? Airplane material. And I went up and did the hackiest fucking bit that I would never have done ever.
And they loved
it. In front of comics that I respected.
Yeah.
Yeah, instantly. And that's and it saved the night, but it's also why it's not respected. Because it's one of those, it's like easy listening, like, oh yes, I've ridden on an airplane. It's not challenging. It's like junk food, but it had to be done. And I got off and I talked to the other guys and I said, hey, never forget that. I go, when in doubt, when it's all going south,
airplane,
do the airplane shit, and everybody will fucking laugh. I did go up. I opened with, I was like, I went up and I said, hey, who wants to talk about politics? And they all laughed, so it kind of got rid of some of the tension. And then I just went right. I mean, dude, I should have had a mullet on with the sleeves pulled up, like fucking 1987 comedy on the road.
Right.
But it was funny. But so they do serve a purpose. And I don't, as long as you use them the right way. But like, I would never like. Do something like if it's just like I can't say the whole subject is off the table, but like because I did a bit about this guy committing suicide by jumping out of a helicopter. So I mean, I guess I saw that is an aviation.
Oh,
you know what's funny? I flew with the guy that was flying.
I mean, his first day on the job. Was that his first day on the job?
No, but I flew with that guy. I rented a helicopter.
That bit is fucking great.
Yeah. Oh, and he survives it. Yeah. So
that bit is great.
I was going up to San Francisco, and I wanted to fly. I made a little money, so.
Wait a minute, you're a helicopter pilot.
Yeah, so I wanted to fly this.
How the fuck did that happen?
I don't know what it was. It was like an EC-135 or something. It was cool. It's got 3 seats across. Oh, EC-130. 3 across and 3 across. Looks like a big like bug. It's the shit. So I rented it, and me and the other company flew up, and I flew up with this instructor. And this is how cool that guy is. I flew all the way up with him and all the way back. He had seen the bit, and he was the guy that was flying the helicopter, and he never said anything.
That's cool.
Well, now that I think about it, it was probably pretty traumatic for him.
Yeah.
Sometimes I say shit without thinking.
Did you say something to him?
I didn't know it was him.
Wow.
Because the people that we rented it from, one of the guys working there was one of my former instructors. He goes, hey, that was the guy. And
yeah.
I go, get the fuck out of here.
That was the guy.
That was the guy.
I mean, that
So I
story
guess
was
what happened was he
hysterical.
tried to stop the guy at first, and then the guy hit him again,
Yeah.
and then he was just like, fuck it, because you can't let go of controls. It's
Yeah.
not like a plane.
Right. Right. You have to hold on.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess if you have a more
Yeah.
expensive one, there's an autopilot,
Yeah.
but like and you can like the one I fly, you can trim
Yeah.
it out and everything, so you can kind of go like this. But if you're like in a Robinson, if you just let go, like that thing is it's gonna invert, and then that's it.
Yeah, my nephew's a helicopter pilot for a big, and to me, it's harder to fly in a helicopter than a plane, right? Seems harder.
Well, I've never flown a plane, so
Right.
I have no idea. But like,
Yeah.
I just find
Could you fly any helicopter?
no, you have to. Well, okay, there's two answers to that. No, skill wise, and then also you have to have a rating. It's not like you just get a helicopter pilot license to fly helicopters. You can fly anything. You have to build up I mean, flying over people's houses, man. You could kill somebody.
But I mean, I don't want to. But you just one day said, I want to learn how to fly helicopters.
No, I was really into conspiracy theory, and I was reading about the dollar and nothing being behind it, and I just got all like paranoid. And I'm in LA. It's like it takes forever to get out of this city when everyone believes in the dollar. What's going to happen when it collapses and the zombies come? And I was thinking the easiest way is up and out. So as I was learning, I kind of would like let go of the conspiracy theory.
Were you famous
Were
you famous when you learned? When you were learning?
No, I was like 2014, so no.
Oh, okay.
No. I only feel like in the last like 6 months, do enough people know.
Oh shit! But I've
who
been
I am.
following you for years, man.
I know, but I still have I have a real cool where I am.
That's
in the
the best
business.
way.
I have a real I get like a. That's all I get.
Yeah, that's the best way.
That's all I get. I don't get like I've seen other people get like
Yeah, right.
they walk into a parking lot
Right.
and then people just start like
Right,
the
yeah.
Thriller videos start
So
coming at
that's
them. So
it's better your way. Yeah,
it's better for me.
it's better for you. Better
That's
for
what
you.
I like. That's what
It's
I
actually
like.
better.
I mean, I love when someone says, "Hey, man, I'm a fan of your work,"
Right.
and stuff like that. I like that. But like, whatever that black SUV.
Yeah.
All of that shit, which
Yeah.
kind of seems like that went away because
Because of the internet, everybody's famous now. Every fucking body's famous. Everybody. It's a
also
joke.
everybody like the biggest stars in the world. You can like, I can like watch The Rock. I love The Rock, and I can watch him, and he's fucking telling me about his workout, making his own video.
Right? Yeah.
He paparazzi'd himself, and
Right.
but he's like in control of it. So I think that's kind of like
Right. What do you think, Bill? What do you think about? Because I love the art, and I love the purity of the art. And again, I never ever, Bill, begrudge anyone who makes a lot of money become successful ever. I go, hey,
it's a big setup. I feel like you're gonna trash somebody.
No, I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna mention names. But you get some of these. I watch some of these.
Whenever somebody goes that big,
Yeah.
here he goes.
When I see some of these.
I love my wife. Great person. Oh, here it comes.
Here it comes. It's some of these kids, Bill, they're like they got 10 million followers as comedians, and I watch them, and this is the way I feel. I go, okay, I'm not getting this. He's not funny. Then I go, am I my father? When my father used to say, "What the fuck music you're listening to? That's terrible." I said,
Yes.
Is it me?
Yes.
Or is it me? So I'm asking you.
Yes, that's what happens.
Is it me?
You age out of, if you buy into, what matters is what young people are into, then yeah, you're going to age out of it, and you should. You should know who their bands are. It's like leave them alone. Let them have their own time, and
Right, yeah.
and comedy changes, and just be the fucking cool old guy.
No, I'm okay with it, but I just keep. And I don't begrudge them, but I go. But then I go. I guess no. But now you just explained to me. It's me.
I'll tell you what is weird. Since I was a kid, there's no selling out anymore. Like back in the day, there was selling out. Like if you did a commercial, if you, I don't
Yes.
know. I don't
No,
know.
you're right.
Yeah,
There was
you
selling out.
you were doing like these great films that meant your world, great
Yes.
films that meant something, and then you just said, "Fuck it, I'm gonna do, whatever, Speed Part 9 or
Right,
whatever."
yeah.
Right? People be like, "All right, the guy, oh, he fucking sold out," and then you'd have to try to get your credibility back with your audience. Now it's like, it's like encouraged. Like artists now are, it's like a good and a bad thing, I feel, where it's like the artist has way more control, but that whole thing that like it's now like this badge of honor that you're a brand as an artist was definitely something that made me feel old, going like, wow, man, it is completely fucking changed. And like seeing big movie stars, you can like do a commercial and then be in an Oscar winning movie, which I think is great.
Yeah.
But like that is something that made me kind of feel old. But I also I when some of the things that you're talking about with like with artists and stuff like that, I think there's a power to it, and then with any power comes the danger that you then become sort of like a slave to like you almost become, it's like you're the artist and you're the industry. You're like looking at your numbers and you're graphing shit, and it's just like, dude, like, you know, this is dangerously going to be able to mess with your ability to say, you know, I want to say what I want to say, or I'm going to do what I want to do.
Yes.
And like, or I'm only doing shit that is interesting to me, that I find fun. And if people want to come along with me on the ride, awesome.
Yeah,
if Colin
was like, Colin Quinn is like, and you know
which
what else
is
was
why
like that?
he has the level of respect that
And
he
you know-
does, because
and-
most people don't have the balls. I don't have the balls to be like, if people don't laugh, I believe them. I'm like, all right, that's not funny. I don't have the balls to be like, I know it. There's a few things that I have. There's a few little precious things that I'll have in my act. And every once in, you know, I'll throw them out and they don't work. But every once in a while, you just hear that guy up there or that woman over there that laughed. You know, and then you just, if I can see him, I look at him and I, you know, do like one of those, and then I move on.
One of my favorite comics was Patrice O'Neal. You know, I would watch him, and he said, I remember him said that I just want 100,000 people that know me. That's all. I don't give a fuck if there's any more than that. I could give a fuck if I get 100,000, and I remember him saying that on a show, and I was like, fuck. It was the way he did it. He was so committed. Like, I don't give a fuck. I do my thing, and I was like, fuck, man. And his bits would just crack me up. They were like yours, funny ways. Like, you know,
He would have had way more than that. He would have had way more than 100,000. But like,
but I remember saying that.
But the mindset, that is the mindset. If you want to be like, I don't know if that mindset just doesn't make you great. You have to have the talent and you have to have the drive. But like, that's the mindset with the talent and the drive, to go to greatness. And that's why he was great, because, you know, he didn't give a fuck. I always tell this story. One time, I remember we were doing this benefit. Oh, it was so fucking thankless. It was this benefit for like PETA or something for animals. So we go up there, and it was this really like New York celebrity sort of crowd. There was all like these borderline famous people in the crowd, and all they were doing, there was no seats, and they were just talking, and you're standing up there doing your act, just bombing like a jerk off. And I remember the only people that fucking listened there was two guys there from Queer Eye for the Straight Guy. They were the only people that respected. There was performers there not listening to performers. They weren't. They were cool, right? So I go up there, and like an asshole, they're all talking. I'm trying to do my act. And the jokes are bombing, and nothing is working. And all I can hear is Patrice in the back laughing at me, which is fucking pissing me off, but also making me laugh. But then I'm also thinking like, well, fuck you, man. You got to come up here too. You're doing the same gig. What are you laughing at?
Right.
So we all go up, Voss, all of us. We all fucking bomb. We start sort of attacking the crowd a little bit. Patrice goes up there and doesn't even look at him. And he starts talking about, you know, this morning I woke up, you know, I was really hungry, and he just sort of like really small, like just sort of almost like Robert Schimmel, just sort of like looking down. And he goes, you know, and I was hungry, and I got this puppy, and I was like, you know, it's meat, you know, so I, you know, heated up the pan, and he starts talking about fucking cooking this puppy alive in front of all these people that are there for PETA. And that was his way to get their attention. And they said, what the fuck is this guy talking about? So they all start like yelling at him. And he just won't stop describing eating this puppy alive. And I remember this woman came running up, who was running the thing. And it was like, you get off the stage. He was like, no. Or else what? What are you going to do, little white lady? He was doing that. And then
man.
it just kept going and going and going. And then he just wouldn't get off the stage, and people fucking hate him. And we were all dying laughing, and then also thinking like, why the fuck didn't I do that?
Right.
Why didn't I treat these assholes? Don't deserve a show.
Wow.
They don't deserve a show. And I just remember in the end, they finally ended up, they cut off the microphone.
Right.
And he went over and started playing the piano, and he couldn't play the piano. He was just sitting there tinkling on the thing. He just wouldn't leave the stage.
Shit.
And he made that woman that was running the thing madder than the crowd had made all of the comics collectively. And it was just like, and that was just a random Tuesday. And like,
Wow.
he did that all the time. And I got to tell you, like the void of him not being around, and what that did to the New York scene and everything. Like,
Right.
Like,
Yeah, it was sad.
Yeah, no, and it was just something still like I miss him. Not even like his comedy. It was the conversations on the phone, like when something happens in the news or something, and we used to have like these debates and stuff like that. And I just haven't, found somebody like that since then that you click with, or that was like that interesting or anything. So
yeah. Now,
basically, if he was still around, I wouldn't be here. You'd be talking to him instead of me.
No.
I'm here by default.
I mean, usually I don't like to know too much about the person because I like to find out, just like the audience is finding out. But I like to know a little bit. Your dad was a dentist.
Yep.
And your mom was a nurse.
Yeah.
You never wanted to go into a medical field, or never thought about, hey, I want to be a doctor. Hey, I want to be a doctor.
No, I wanted to be a lawyer.
Right.
I wanted to be a lawyer. I wanted to go to Notre Dame, and I was going to be a lawyer. That was my idea after 8th grade. And then after my freshman year, I did so poorly in school. I swear to God, I was thinking like, maybe there's a school, Wentworth. Maybe I'll go there and learn how to do construction. And then I took wood class, and I sucked at that too.
But go ahead.
I just kind of, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just knew I liked making people laugh. And I also knew like there was just really this fucking thing about me, this dread of life that I was going to have this job that I fucking hated. Like, cause I always worked. I had a job since like 3rd grade. I had a paper route. I just went.
Right. So you were a worker, yeah.
Yeah, and I liked blue collar jobs because there was a freedom to it. I wasn't fucking sitting at this before that movie even came out, that Office Space. Yeah, we're gonna need you to come in. Like I saw that. And these fucking people, they get like a position at the company I was working in. They get a little computer, and they had their Michael J. Fox family tie, skinny tie, and then they would immediately go out. They would immediately go out and buy a new car.
Yeah.
And that was the Bronx Tale. Now you can't leave. My brother told me about that. He goes, you watch these fucking people. He goes, they get a little position, and what's the first thing they fucking do? He goes, they buy a car. He goes, they just chain themselves to desk. Their boss is fucking happy they did that. Next thing they want you to do, they want to get married and have a kid. They want you to be fucking locked the fuck down. And he told me that shit, and it was like seeing through the Matrix.
Wow.
Because I used to look at them like, wow, that guy has a tie on. He's successful. Like there was no internet. You were just alone with your own dumb thoughts. Like I thought if he had a desk and a tie.
Wow.
Yeah, wow, man, this guy's doing thing, and he has a new car, right? But I worked in the warehouse, and there was a freedom to it. Like I didn't have to be at a desk. I had to be in the warehouse. Warehouse was huge.
So you like all that walking around, working?
I don't like somebody fucking breathing down my neck.
Right. So, but
I didn't like that shit.
And one day you just said, I want to be a comic, and you started doing open mics.
No, I was working at that warehouse, and of course I wanted to be a comedian, but I didn't think I could do it. And in show business, I thought it was way out in L.A. I didn't even know that Boston had the greatest comedy scene, local scene. Yeah. So I was working with the guy at that warehouse, and he wanted to do it. And he said that he wanted to do it, and it was like a bucket of cold water. It was just like, oh, you can just do it?
Was that when Stephen Wright was around? And
Stephen had already hit. Wait a minute. No, it was like 87, 88. So Stephen had hit 85, 86, somewhere around there, 84, 85, 86. He did the Tonight Show and just absolutely blew up.
Right.
Leary was early 90s, so it was right as I started doing comedy. I think I started a year after No Cure for Cancer. That came out.
Right.
Then he blew up. And then there was also the whole
great comics from Boston.
fallout. Yeah, but there was the whole fallout too of like, Cosby built a show around his act, and then Roseanne.
Yes.
And then that became the industry thing.
Right.
Like it stopped being, we want to find Carlins and Pryors. It was like we wanted to find these, and I'm not saying like Roseanne was not wholesome, but she was relatable. They wanted to find like relatable, and then by the 90s, it just became like this, like total like white bread. Like if you look at the arc of the sitcom, if you look where the fuck it was in the 70s, all of those shows, Sanford and Son,
Right.
Good Times,
Great.
The Jeffersons, they and all this multicultural shit was going, Chico and the Man and all that stuff.
Chico,
Now look, it
right.
was all white writers and it was a lot of
Yeah,
hacky
right,
writing,
right.
but like it was moving in that direction. And then the first comic that they hit the mother load on around building a sitcom on was Bill Cosby, a black comic. So you would think they'd be like, the way the business works, like, let's find another one, right? Because that's what they do.
Right.
They like that guy with the hat. Let's get another guy with the hat. Like, that's literally a level of thinking.
Right.
They didn't. They went, I think Roseanne was the next one, and then it just kept getting whiter and whiter and whiter
yeah.
until you got to Friends, which was so fucking white, like, I couldn't even relate to it. I remember sitting there, and I had a walk-through bedroom apartment, and I was going like, that fucking apartment has got to be like $4,000 a fucking
Come
month.
on!
Like,
We used to say that
like,
all the
what
time.
what is this? And everybody just walking around and having all of this fucking time to be beautiful.
Nobody
in their
works.
stupid fucking sweaters. I hated that fucking show.
Yeah, nobody works.
I hated that show because it reminded me that I wasn't doing shit.
Right.
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 Whereas back in the day when I used to watch those the other shows, like even like a cop show like Barney Miller, and you just saw them, they were eating sandwiches and like they were drinking coffees and stuff and everything. They looked like they were relatable. Like it looked like something that they didn't look like they were. They looked like they were they had problems,
Right,
and they had to
right.
figure stuff out, and just I don't like
But I love the way that you could talk about race back then and say anything you want. It's gotten worse now. It's like you can't say anything.
It's not true. You can't. You can say whatever the fuck you want. You've always been able to say whatever the fuck you want. What it is it's a combination of there's so many places for people to be watching shit, like TV, your own video you made of yourself and everything. So what gets hits is controversy. So they got to do this Chicken Little shit. So what it becomes is you do a show. You do a show in front of 1,500 people. Fucking 1,498 people like it, but 2 people don't. Who are they interviewing? Yeah. Those 2 people.
Those 2 fucking people.
Yeah, and then they don't give a fuck about people liking it. So then it became like that, and then I don't know but the whole time it was happening, I just acted like it wasn't happening, or I even went harder in that direction to balance off how fucking
how you did it was great.
Stupid it was. And there's another thing too, is I did a bit about this where there was this whole thing about abuse of power and white racism and all that, and it was supposed to be about giving people people of color, whatever the fuck that means, not white people,
right,
opportunities that were given to white people, and then somewhere along the line, psychotic white women grabbed that narrative and made it all about themselves, and it was like, and I just remember just sitting back going like, we did it again. We did it again. We took the word woke.
Right.
We took it from them, the Elvis thing, all over again. It was their word. We took it. We redefined it. And now it's become a thing like you don't even know what it means.
No.
What woke means now to a white person is basically you're saying something that I don't agree with. And then I say, what is this, some woke shit?
Right, why can't you say something?
You can't give me a real glass, all these fucking awards? What is this, some woke shit? Jesus, Chazz.
No, meanwhile, I'm still embarrassed about those. Phil, I love you as a brother, Phil, but you were wrong on this one. That's my brother. He was like my brother. He wasn't my brother, but he was like my brother. He said, put your fucking awards up. Be proud. I said, you know what?
You should. Why would you let some jerk off like me? I don't have those awards.
No, but you're right. You're right. It always
Am I going to tell
bothered me.
Terry Bradshaw to take down his fucking Super Bowl trophies?
Meanwhile, very underrated. 4 fucking Super Bowls. You never bring him up in the conversation.
Yeah, no, Terry Bradshaw. 4-0.
You never bring him
4-0.
up.
The only other guy that won 4 and it only took him 4, Joe Montana.
Yeah, but he's never brought up in the greatest quarterbacks ever. Ever.
How about that
Ever.
touchdown he had when he got a concussion? He literally threw it
Yes.
and took the hit
Yes.
and got concussed. And I think it was Lynn Swan.
Lynn
and it just
Swan did
landed
that
right-
fucking dive.
Oh,
yeah. I mean, I said, you never bring this guy up. You know what's going to happen? When he passes on, they'll say, that motherfucker was a great. When he dies, they'll bring it up. They'll bring it up.
Yeah.
Look, you know, we're talking sports. Tom Brady's a great quarterback. I say yes.
I'm going to fucking walk out of here if you're going to go in the direction I think you're going to go.
No, he's a great quarterback. He's a great quarterback. Would you say, is he the best ever quarterback because he won all those Super Bowls? Is he? He had great teams around him. If Joe Montana got... Wait a minute. Let me ask you a question. Bill, don't. No, let me ask you a question.
You are rewriting history right now.
No.
When they won those first three,
Yes.
they said they're a boring team with no stars. He beat all these superstar teams with wide receivers like David Patton.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, we didn't have a Jerry Rice.
Oh, well, maybe you're... Okay, all right. So then I need somebody to talk to me about it.
So listen. I'll say... I'm not saying Tom Brady's the greatest of all time. I wouldn't, because if Joe Montana was working with Bill Belichick,
Yeah.
I feel like he would have got 6-2, and I feel like if Tom Brady was working with Bill Walsh, he would have got those 4. So I
Right.
feel like
No, that's a good point.
there's so many
Yeah, that's a good
there's
point.
so many variables to say the undeniable. I think the uneducated sports fan goes like, he has this many rings, he has that many rings,
Right.
or he threw for this many yards, he threw for that many yards, and it's just like they don't understand like how the game changed. Like as far as statistically, if I can say the word, goes, the greatest quarterback season ever was Dan Marino
Yes.
in 1984
Yes.
when you could beat the fuck out of a quarterback, you could beat the fuck out of a receiver. Even after the Mel Blount rules, you
Right.
could beat the fuck out of him. You could have, I think Sitcom finally was illegal, but
Right.
and then also how the game was, how much you ran. Like I'll tell you, the record that's never going to get broken in football is what's his face? Oh God, I just spaced on his name. Emmett Smith.
Yeah.
Emmett Smith's all-time. They just don't get the carries.
You had Larry Charles in front of him, too. I mean, Larry Allen.
I know, but I'm saying like you need the rushing attempts to come even close to gaining. I think, I think just to gain 10,000 yards today is like gaining like 16,000 as a running back back then, because they're just not getting.
They don't run today anymore.
Yeah, they throw, and then part of being a running back now is you have to catch. Like you
Right.
know who the guy that was like ahead of his time, and that nobody seems to remember. A guy they don't bring up is Roger Craig.
Roger
From
Craig.
the 49ers.
Great.
That guy was
Great catcher.
an
Great receiver.
an all-pro running back and wide receiver
He was.
playing running back. And nowadays, like that skill set is required at that position. But he's like the first guy.
Yeah, Marshall Faulk was another one that could do that.
But
Right.
Roger Craig was on another
No,
level.
Roger Craig, yes. He was the first, yeah.
Right.
And he wasn't a big
All
guy.
right, we got through the Tom Brady stuff. I thought it was going to go south.
No, I would never go south on you with that. I'm just... So anyway, I just wanted you to touch on this a little bit. So you started doing open mic and you just said, hey, I'm fucking doing this. And then when did you know? But you make me laugh. You go, 6 months ago I felt like I was. But when did you know, like, okay, I could do this, Was there a moment? Was there a
It wasn't
clarity?
that I can do this. It's that I'm doing this.
I'm doing
It was
this.
like up until I did my first open mic,
Right.
everything that I ever did, I was always looking at other people like, okay, how's he doing it? How's she doing it? Like,
Right.
I just, one of the things that I've been really honest with myself, so I knew what I sucked at. So like when I tried to play drums and maybe I'll do that, I'll be a musician, because I just didn't want to have a lame job. I would go to music stores and I would just see,
Right.
some kid I was like 17. I see some 11-year-old kid come in, pick up a guitar or drums, and I could see they had it. Like they were already expressing themselves
Right.
on the instrument, where I was like listening. He did, and then you do the, and then you hit the crash, and I was just like, I was doing drums rather than playing them. So, comedy. I remember I got brought up. It was a competition to find the funniest college student, which was just this big scam to get the club packed with people getting drunk, college kids watching their friends bomb. I remember walking to the microphone it was like an outer body experience. Like I was almost like watching myself. And I went up. I didn't do well. I forgot my act. I was supposed to do 5. I bailed after 3. And if it was anything else, like when I did sales, if I bombed that bad, I'd be like, yeah, fuck that. I'm not doing that again. There was not even a question.
I'm doing
I
that.
waited till the host got off the stage. This guy, Billy Martin, like the great Yankee, but he's with Bill Maher show. I said, who books this thing? And he said, read a choice. And he wrote it on a napkin. And it never entered my mind, no matter how bad I did, no matter how bad the humiliation was. It just never entered my mind to ever do anything else. I was just like, I'm doing this. I knew that I was supposed to be doing it.
Yeah.
When it was the first time, when I went to an open mic and I was hanging out with other comedians, they were the same kind of weird that I was. They were the same kind of crazy. It was the first time I actually felt like this is where I'm supposed to be.
Wow. The thing about, and I know a lot of comics because I love comedy. I love to be around comics. They're just funny. But the one thing I know about comics, when they do things with each other, they never laugh. They'll just go, that's funny.
That's funny.
That's funny. They won't laugh. Maybe when you're with your friends, you do that.
No, we do. But it has to be nothing I can say on this podcast. It's pretty far down the road.
Right. But and again, my son, who's just, my God, he knows every bit you ever did, listens to your podcast. He goes, Dad, what about when Mom, he goes, if Mom told you to sleep on the couch, what would you do? I go, sleep on the couch. He goes, you gotta, he should watch this bit that Bill does. And you did the thing. He said, when I go outside, then my next door neighbor goes, I had a fight with the wife. You know how it is. I sleep on the couch. You went, no, I don't. And then now him and I always go, hey, you have a fight with Chloe? You sleep on the couch? And he would say, no, I don't.
You know what's funny? As I have a new bit about that.
Yeah.
Because I've softened in my years. My wife never tells me to go downstairs.
Of course not. Yeah.
But here's the thing. It's actually great. What you have to do, the thing is you have to hide your excitement when they say to go downstairs and sleep on the couch. Because you go down there and it's like you're single again. You got this L-shaped couch, there's a flat screen TV. You're going out, you're making a sandwich in the kitchen. You got ESPN on. And then the next morning, and then you start talking, I don't fucking need her, man. I get the fuck out. But then the next day when you wake up, you got to act like your back hurts. I'm sorry, or whatever, But this thing, I don't have to play those games with my wife. My wife is like beyond cool, and she's funnier than most comics that I hang
Well,
out
that's
with.
great. That's why you married her, because
she's-
you probably get humor out of her. You probably get bits out of her.
I married her. Obviously, I find her stunningly beautiful, and then I also I find her, she's just unbelievably interesting. Like I'll tell you one thing. When I remember my first time I had like this. Who is this thought? I went up and I was seen her a couple times. I was coming back from the road, and I go to pick her up. I had the rental car. I was going to pick her up and take her down to my apartment. So I'm picking her up in Harlem. Black woman living in Harlem. She gets in the car and she puts on Steely Dan and knows all the words exactly. And I'm going like,
Holy
and I'm going,
shit.
who the fuck is this, right? And for 20 years, that's what I've been saying. Every time I think I see the whole picture, like the other night, we were watching the Criterion channel, and she was telling me, what did we watch? Gentlemen Prefer Blondes. And she was going like, I loved this movie when I was a little girl. And she was like talking about all this
Marilyn Monroe, Jane Russell.
Right. But then also, not like she just watched white shit. She was always like, she didn't have in her head that shit that they put in your head, that you're this, so you should be here. You're that, you should be there. She was always an artist. So she went from Jay-Z to Steely Dan to like some of the stuff, like, and some of the shit that she...
What?
Music,
She just liked good stuff.
she's free.
Free.
She's
If
free,
it's-
how everybody should be. So
Yeah.
I become like freer being around her because, she like, I'll be honest with you, I wasn't a Steely Dan fan.
You want what?
I wasn't a Steely Dan fan.
Oh, I like Steely Dan.
Yeah, no, I like them now.
Yeah.
She made me a Steely Dan
Yeah.
fan. I mean, I listened to AC/DC and like
Yeah. Oh, you
fucking
were more the
metal.
metal.
And stuff.
Yeah.
I was, I was an idiot, right?
Yeah.
Not saying metal music, but I was just sort of like,
Yeah.
if it wasn't fucking guitars and doing that,
Yeah.
it's not
Wow.
music. It was dumb. It was.
Yeah. Wow.
I had a very like, this is this and everything else is fuck that. And
Wow.
she came in, like, if it's good, I like it. And like, oh my God, take museums. I mean, dude, kill me. I don't want to go to a fucking museum. I can now go to a museum and I can actually appreciate. I can look at some shit.
Yeah, so
I can look at some shit that doesn't look like anything.
She made you a better person. This is my wife.
Yeah.
My wife did that to me too. You know, things that I would never think of. She said, "Oh, you gotta just fucking loosen up here with
You know what does annoy me though?
What?
Is it's impossible to surprise her with like she fucking knows everything. Like I can't find a new food spot. She's always seen it. She's always been there. She's always read about it, and it's just like. And then she just goes like, "What? I'm into food. I mean, it's like you're fucking into everything cool. Like the only way I can surprise you is to take you to some shit you don't want to go to, and then you're not going to enjoy it."
Yeah.
You know, she can guess what I got her. She'll look at the box, the gift.
Know.
She guesses what it is, and then I just walk out of the room like a 3-year-old, and then she laughs at me. And she goes, "What?"
You know, it sounds like
she goes, "You're mad at me because I'm smart or whatever." And I'm just like, "Don't you know that giving a gift, part of the experience is the excitement and them not knowing? It's like being a musician. I'm a magician. Like, the rabbit's in the fucking hat, and it's just
right.
There's a rabbit. You just feel like an asshole.
You know, Bill, and we're winding down, and you're an actor, you're a writer. You're a producer. You're
jerk off. Don't forget that.
Your animation show, the F for Family.
Yep.
What made you just said? But it's funny. You play your father. And
I'm playing like that. That guy has elements of my dad. But
elements.
What it is that guy he's Mike Price, great Mike Price, late great David Richardson, late great Mark Wilmore, all of these guys. Emily Towers, all of them came in and had stories that informed who this guy was. So how that all came about was...
it's such a wonderful show.
The early part of my career, when I told stories about growing up, everyone was dying laughing.
Right.
And then somewhere as I became an older comic and ways of parenting changed... It would start to be like, oh. And then it got even worse. It got to be like, oh my God, that's so traumatic.
Right.
And I'd be up there like, no, this is fucking funny, right? And she fucking hit me with the thing or whatever. And they were just sitting there going like, couldn't relate to it. So I'm a huge South Park fan.
Huge.
I mean, those guys, that's the best social comedy of the last quarter
Oh
century.
my God.
So I was sitting there. It just, you know, I just stopped telling family stories because I got sick of people feeling bad for me. It's like, I want you to laugh with me about, I'm fine. Look at me. Like, I'm fine, right?
Right.
But they weren't. They were like groaning and shit. And I was just watching South Park and I was just going, man, you can kind of do whatever the fuck you want with this animation stuff. People don't look at it like.
Yes.
So then I was like going, hey, you know
funny
what I'll do?
yeah.
I'm just going to like write little vignettes. And I'm going to animate them, and I'm going to put them up on my website. So, of course, I never did it, right? And then one day, Steve Byrne goes, hey, I'm going out of the improv. You know, Vince Vaughn's going to be there. You know, like they were friends. And he goes, you should come down and do a spot. He should see you. He should know who you are because Vince has this production company. So, went up, did the set. I hit it off with Vince. Totally cool guy, hockey guy and everything. You know, Chicago guy, Boston, you know, really worked. And so I took a meeting with those guys, and I was just like, at this point, I've been through a bunch of deals, and all he did was give you a bag of money and just took you off the table, and you couldn't audition for anything, and it would never get on the air. So I was like, I don't want to do a deal. I don't want to do any of that shit. If you guys have something that you're interested in, I would love to act in it, blah, blah. It was basically the meeting. And as I walked out, I was with Peter Billingsley. I said, by the way, you know, I kind of have this idea for an animation show. He goes, well, what's it about? Tell me about that. It was literally as I was walking out the door, I went back and I sat down. I pitched it to him, and then he liked it. Vince liked it, and then you know Vince is like a force of nature. And then Vince. I remember it went on. That's how it got on the air. Was Vince went on the pitches because it was a weird thing to do as a comedian to not want to do a TV show, to want to do an animated show, even though comics had done that, like Howie Mandel and Bill Cosby had done that. It hadn't been done in a minute. So they were looking at me like, what the fuck? What is this? You want to do what? And then they would look over and be like, that's fucking Vince Vaughn. If he's sitting next to like, it gave it credibility. So he was the fuel that got it off the ground. And then Mike Price from The Simpsons, he did 1,000 episodes over there. So he knew how to take all of these ideas and he
you had a great team behind.
Yeah,
you.
he was
my
really
God.
the
My
captain of
God,
the ship.
you
I miss working with those guys, and the
Right.
guys that passed away.
Do
were
you
like,
think? Because when I was watching the show and I said, because my first instinct was, could this work if they did this, like if Bill played the part and they did it live? I said, no. I said, I don't know. I said, you can get away with so much because it's a cartoon.
Yeah, like I think like, and the kids doing drugs and the dad
Right.
yelling at the kids and saying like when it becomes live, it becomes too relatable.
It becomes too real.
Yeah, it's a cartoon. It's just like sillier. I will say I got to give David Richardson. I miss that guy so much. Like he was the guy that decided to make Frank a conservative, which I thought was such a fun thing to write.
Right.
And any joke that you watch, people who are fans of that show, any joke, if it's trashing the Kennedys,
Right.
came from him. And it was not like he hated the Kennedys. It was just that whole idea of Camelot and how they were so
Yes.
revered. It was just funny to have this guy just shitting all up. So then it became like this thing, like Frank didn't like Joe Namath. He was rooting for the Colts. And he hated that they had Earl Morrall in and didn't put Johnny Unitas in. And it just became like this sort of like...
He reminded me of like Archie Bunker in a way.
Yes.
Very similar to
it was that. But so it wouldn't be too much that he was actually a sensitive guy that was going for a dream and he always wanted to fly and that was his dream. Of course, it never comes true or whatever. But like, and he was, crazy about his wife.
Right.
You know what I mean? But in his own dysfunctional way, you did see a love between him and his kids where I would say like Archie Bunker, he calling his wife dingbat and fucking, hey, meathead. I knew that they had those moments, but like he was a different thing. But I also, Frank also, his best friend was Rosie. So he wasn't like, and then we sort of walked that line where, that theory of like, I'm not racist, my best friend's black, which is like, no, that's not how it works.
That's not how it works.
No,
right.
you still have issues.
Right. Yes.
You have less issues. You're not in the Klan.
Right. Right.
You're able to be friends with somebody that's black,
Right.
but that doesn't mean that you don't have these issues. So that was like really the fun thing to do. I had an unbelievable time on that show.
That's great. It's a great show for people who've never seen it. It's a fun show. And the last thing I want to ask you, this is right at the end, and that is, as a comic, I always ask comics this question. If you have your certain bits that you're going to do on stage, and your final bit is this, but the bit right before it fucking kills to the point of like so huge, do you say, I'm going to end now, or do you still do the end?
That would be the smart move, but most comics go, well, wait till they hear this one. And then it goes that's the worst. The worst is you bring them up to here, and then you just do like a little dip. The little dip is worse than absolutely bombing.
Wow. Okay, that's interesting.
If you absolutely bomb, there's something funny about that. But to bring them up there and then kind of...
Just a little dip.
It's just like, we
I
we were up here. I don't know why you...
I mean, the bit is so fucking... You go, all right, I'm out of here.
I have done that.
Yeah, okay.
But I should have done it a lot more. I always like, it's your closer.
It's your closer.
Yeah, Mariano, you don't believe in him? Gotta get him out.
No, listen, the Sandman, no fucking way. Bill, I seriously, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart. You're a fucking great comic, man.
Thank you.
You're a fucking great, you're really just a great comic. We talked about, and I know you're probably going to get uncomfortable, with sport, because you're a sports guy, I'm a sports guy. You've changed the rules. Maybe, look, I love, my favorite comedian of all time was Richard Pryor, because he changed the rules. George Carlin I love, and I know you love them too. But I'm talking about today. I love Dave Chappelle. I love guys who do things that are just different. And you do things that you make me think. You're funny and you make me think. And it's really a fucking, and I mean this sincerely, from my heart. It's an honor to have you on the show. I'm so excited.
Oh, it was an honor to be here.
No, really. And I hope one day I can work with you as an actor. because you're a good fucking actor, man. You are, and I hope that one day. But thank you so much for coming. God bless, man. Thank you.
All right, no worries.
God
man.
bless.
I want to see that one-man show.
Yes, I'd love for you to come and see it.
Okay.
All right, folks.
I'll bring my wife, and she'll understand it way more than me because
that's-
she's smarter. Yeah.
Anyway, God bless. Thank you so much. And this has been a real thrill for me. And I'll see you next week.